Hello YouTube, here we go with another knife review, this time on the table. It's the Giant Mouse Ace Line Jutland, or Jutland, how in Germany we would pronounce it. This particular knife comes in with a plate length of 85mm or 3.35 inches, has a plate thickness of 0.132 inches, and that translates to roughly 3.4 millimeters, and a handle length of 4.8, overall length 8.15 inches or 207 millimeters. So this is in my book a full-size knife. It's a bit shorter, perhaps in the plate length, but it has ample of handle space, and it looks long at any rate, just because it's such a sleek blade. And it comes in Giant Mouse's signature canvas micarta. In this particular case, the green micarta, even though it perhaps doesn't look as green anymore as it was looking when it came from the factory. Also, as per usual, you have T6 hardware, and the pivot is T8, and the pocket clip is also a T8, and you have that beautiful wire clip, pocket clip. I love it. It's deep carry, not entirely sinking the knife in your pocket, but it's sitting fairly low, and it is very, very functional. I always love that and say that about the Giant Mouse knives. Their pocket clips are fantastic. It's also reversible, and this in particular is also an aspect that I like a lot about Giant Mouse. Just the way they incorporate the second side, the second carry option, if you want to put it that way, for the other side of the pocket clip. It doesn't leave you with 3 holes that are unoccupied on the presentation side of the knife. In this particular case, I can live with these slots. It looks alright to me. It doesn't look as if anything is missing. There's plenty of knives out there that give you the second side mounting option, but unfortunately they don't really think that through the entire way, and then you end up on the other side with 3 holes, and that usually doesn't look so good. It doesn't look so flash, and this is an elegant solution, and I like the fact that they're actually giving the lefties the opportunity to use that knife, and at the same time there's enough respect for the design to still make it look nice on the presentation side. So that's awesome. That's great. I always like that. As far as this plate shape is concerned, it's a Bowie style clip point plate. I absolutely love this shape. Not so much from an aesthetic perspective. I mean, it is a classic, but the functionality of this particular plate shape is just amazing. So you have a really nice engagement. If you do some rolling cuts, you have the push cut option. You can, without going all too high with your hand, still reach the tip, and you have a beautiful piercing action on this particular blade shape as well. It is just, as advertised, a fairly capable outdoor knife. Personally, I carry it as an EDC knife, and you can see on the tip there that it had a fair bit of use, and this particular plate also is made from Elmex steel, which is a really great steel. It is perhaps not the top tier, but it is on the upper scale. It's a very, very capable, good plate steel that has very good edge retention, and also a good amount of toughness to it. Perhaps not on the toughness scale, it's not coming anywhere near Magna Cut, but in terms of edge retention, it should actually exceed the capabilities of, let's say, Magna Cut. So it's just sitting a little bit below your M390 and 20 CV, perhaps. Not much. So also my particular thing is I like my my edge to be around 17 to 20 degrees, so that's a slightly modified angle on the cutting edge in this particular case, and that works fine for me. If you want to put that knife to rougher use, and perhaps you should stick with a more conservative sharpening angle, but look, this is already a relatively thin blade, and it is long and relatively thin, so you're not going to do an awful lot of poking with this. Or if you're sensible, you won't, because you're just risking to snap the blade, because as I said, it's not a super tough steel that, you know, responds well to flexing. So you want to be a little bit mindful of that. And so personally, I like it nice and slicey, and slicey it is. It is a very, very, very capable slicey blade, almost full flat grind, and fairly nicely thin behind the edge. It's a very capable slicer, and very nice cutting action. Talking of action, it is a beautiful reverse flicker. You also have the deployment option of just going with your flipper tab, and something that Giant Mouse does really well across the board with their flippers. You look at that. That is a Tribeca by comparison. Their flippers, they're really nice and small, and that is greatly appreciated. I mean, in a knife like this, one of the beautiful things is it rides really nicely at the seam of your pans, so it doesn't take too much pocket real estate. That's awesome. And then you don't really want to have a big poker here, which kind of comes in the way and gets hung up on things inside your pocket. This is awesome. Personally, I wouldn't need it there at all. I would be happy just with the thumb hole alone, but for all those people who kind of like that additional deployment method, that's fine. It also gives you a little bit of a ramp here for your sharpening choil, where it actually turns it sort of into a finger choil. It's not a big choil, but the way they designed that flipper tab over here, it gives you a nice resting place for your index, so you can pull back quite comfortably and still get a good grip on the knife. And in good old Giant Mouse fashion, you've got meaningful jimping sitting on top here. In this particular case, mostly due to the geometry of the blade, your jimping isn't moved as far forward as in their other designs. If you compare it, for instance, with the Giant Mouse Ace Grand, you can see they like to move the jimping really far forward. In this particular case, it's really much further back, and looking at the geometry, it becomes quite obvious why that is the case. So it is functional where it is, and you could perhaps extend it a little bit further out, but that would take away from that beautifully ground spine. And you know, that's always a beautiful thing to see that. It's not just left with sharp edges. But perhaps if you wanted to use the backside of your knife edge as a fire striker, then that's maybe not so great. Personally, I don't do that, and if I wanted to do that, just finding a piece of steel with a sharp edge is usually not so hard. It's somewhere in the kit. So yeah, I really appreciate the way they're knocking down all the edges, and the ground spine adds a level of refinement. So that's great. This particular knife unfortunately came from the factory with a number of issues. It was a little bit rough there. You can see that where the frame lock engages. It is centered, so that's fine, but what was a little bit of a disappointment was the late engagement, which is just out of the woods, really. It's almost at the end. You can see that. It's rock solid. It won't get out of that position there, but it kind of is just not as smooth because there's so much pressure on that liner lock to push the liner all the way to the other side, that it's not closing as nicely as it could. For me, this particular knife shape doesn't lend itself to be a knife where you sit and flick it all day. It's just because it looks relatively aggressive. It really looks like a murder weapon, the shape. And you're certainly not sitting with your friends or I'm not sitting on with friends on the veranda and flick that in and out all day. So for me, that's a tool, and I appreciate the fact that it deploys nicely. It's really snappy. It's really nice on that side, and I don't mind that I have to tuck it in. Just like I would with many other knives that have a secondary clutch or something along these lines. I'm sure this is a bad example. I mean, there have been some inconsistencies with the giant mouse knives, especially those coming out of Italy. I have 4, and 2 of them had niggles. That one perhaps being the worst case I've seen so far, but because I'm in New Zealand, I didn't send it back. So for me, it's also not a big thing. I'm going to take it apart. I'm just going to go around and put a little bit of a TIG weld on that spot, and just grind it flat, and then fix the engagement of the liner lock. But you know, for a knife that was at around at the time, I think 180, I got it on special, $180 US, you kind of don't expect to see that really. So that's a niggle, but I still thoroughly enjoy and love this knife. Would I buy it again? Yes. Will I buy Giant Mouse again? Yes. And the reason is that their designs are just plain great. They're awesome designs. They just have such a nice variety of functional designs, and a very nice way to put it together with a very nice selection of materials that I actually don't mind to pay a premium for it. It is just quite unique. Now, there's certain things I can fix. If it was any worse than what I got on the table right here, and perhaps if I was living in the United States, I would have returned it. But quite frankly, I'd be paying $60, $70, $80 just to send it back to the States to have it fixed. So it's far easier and more straightforward, more practical for me to just fix it here locally and get over with it, and just enjoy it, and not be caught up in regrets or in blame. It is an awesome knife. It has, in this particular case, a bit of an issue. It doesn't stop me from using it, and it's fixable. So that's okay by me. The only reason I'm bringing it up, because Giant Mouse, if you're hearing this, look, tell those guys in Italy, especially with those knives, where it's always been a bit of an issue, is really with the liner locks, with the engagement there, and with the actions. I'm not sure that quality control will do something about it. I think it is a process that is perhaps creating the problems. If that thing was done by Riyadh, I'd say, and I, you know, just telling from the other Riyadh knives I have, I don't think you would be seeing that. Whether those guys could still produce it at a similar price point, perhaps not. And to be honest there too, was it any more, if it was more expensive than it is right now at around about $200, I have to say I would probably not buy it either, even if it was made by Riyadh. It is ultimately a liner lock in Elmex, and there's an awful lot of good knives out there for a lot less money, and so I think that they're kind of striking a sweet spot. Quality is alright. It could be a little bit better. I had some really great knives from them that came out of the box nearly flawless, and I'm very happy with all of them, and I haven't sold a single one of them yet. So they're keepers, they're great knives, they're users, they're tools, and a little bit let down maybe by the production process, but once they reach the customer's hands, I think most customers will discover the charm they carry, and it's a beautiful, beautiful knife to work with, and I can thoroughly recommend it if you can overcome the potential uncertainty that maybe if you get it, your action isn't quite perfect. Just keep that one in mind. Other than that, thumbs up for the Jutland. Really lovely knife, great slicer, and a knife I thoroughly enjoy. Alright, you all have a good day. See you next time. Bye.